Welcome to the 3 and Out podcast, our way of bringing you the highlights of West Texas football at all levels. I'm Gary Gray, along with David McReynolds and Dustin Pierce.
Hello.
Howdy.
We're going to start out talking about the app.
Hey, the app. Do you know that is at Midland ISD Athletics in the App Store?
There you go.
Midland ISD Athletics in the App Store, or your Google Store, your Google Play Store, any kind of Android stuff. We got it all covered. That's the place to listen to Midland Lee and Midland High simultaneous, flip back and forth between the two games because of the excitement of both these games.
Actually, you could do simultaneous if you had a phone and an iPad or two phones.
That's exactly right. One of them on each.
Well,
if there's two of you driving down the road in the car, one of you could have one game and the other have the.
Wow,
it's nice.
This is future high-end digital world we're in now, boys.
That's where you can catch us, though. Obviously, we're on the normal radio, too, this week. And every week you'll catch the Lee Rebels on AM 550.
There it is.
The Bulldogs. Yeah, the AM radio. And then the Bulldogs on Classic Rock 102.1. All right, Dustin, tell us about the Lee Rebels.
So Lee opens district season, this past week against Friendship, and interesting because we've really built this out to be exactly what it was. We said, hey, this is going to be a test, and it sure proved that way after one quarter. We're sitting there at 28-7, kind of going, all right. The hard thing is about doing football, non-district doesn't tell you a ton, Lee's 5-0. Okay, does that mean anything? In 2017, they were 5-0. Went down to San Angelo, got beat pretty bad. But here's what was different about this Lee team is there was no heads hanging. No one got flustered. They just slowly and silently started holding on defense, scoring on offense. Before you know it, it's 30-28. And they have the first lead, and they've never looked back, and they go on to win the game, 56, scoring 56 points. So Lee really is good, and that's the biggest takeaway for me is this is unlike other Lee teams I've seen that probably would have given up. So let's talk about some of the big 59-36. I'm sorry, was the final in that. So here's the big takeaways. I mean, Loic Fungi just had an outstanding game, 11 receptions, 228 yards. 3 touchdowns. I mean, those are video game-like numbers. Absolutely insane. Both his 11 catches and his 228 yards are both program records for single game. That's a big deal. And then in only 6 games, his 15 receiving touchdowns are new single-season record in program history. But also Mikey Serrano, the quarterback, he's having a great year too. 26 touchdown passes. He needs 5 more to match Caden Coots' record back in 2013. And he's thrown 35 career touchdown passes. He's only a junior. He needs 7 more to tie John Rogers for the career mark in Lee.
He's a junior.
Mikey Serrano's a junior.
So this is the thing that impressed me. I'm reading the paper, the recap of the game. Loic sets this record, Mikey sets this record, and blah, blah, blah. And they're all, they're in the top whatever in the state.
Yeah.
Oh, and by the way, Shamar Davis racks up 214 rushing yards.
Yeah, I was just about to go there next. Like Shamar Davis had a breakout, 27 times, 217 yards, a touchdown against the Tigers. He's averaging 10.8 a carry.
Good grief.
And and technically he's the backup running back, backup quarterback, and the starting slot receiver. So Lee really is stacked. I've said it a few times. I really believe this is the best Lee team I've seen in 10 years being here in Midland. We'll see how it pans out against a Dallas team, against, a solid Metroplex. But I believe Lee's going to win district, and I'm thinking 3-4 rounds deep for sure. They're going to start, they're going to move into the next game of district play against OHS tomorrow night. So you never want to just overlook someone or look past someone, but OHS isn't exactly going to be one of the tough teams in our district, So I think OHS Honestly, I think Midland High will beat OHS. Just between us, you guys can hash that out.
We really hope so.
So that being said, I think Lee is going to start 2-0, and then we're going to have a really tough one next weekend as we go to Dick Bivens Stadium, take on Tascosa.
I hope it's not as cold and windy as when we were there. So
Well, tell me a little bit about that. When I saw the result of that Thursday night game, I'm not going to lie, I was surprised.
So get this, just as an aside, we go from the last non-district game in Harlingen where the heat index is
105, 106.
Okay. Chill factor by the time this game was over, last Thursday night, rather, it was in the 20s.
Wow.
It was, I went down on the field before the game and came back and my ears and nose were frozen.
Panhandle's a different place,
man. It was
That's crazy.
awful. It was so windy.
So those two games had that much temperature difference.
80 degrees.
And 800 miles between them.
Yeah. So it was nuts. It's unfortunately it's a 63-6 loss to Tascosa. That triple option flex bone, whatever they call it. They were ahead 42-0 at the half. They ran 52 plays, of which 49 were on the ground. They threw 3 times. 2 of those were touchdowns. And I think, David, the one of the issues continues to be execution and misassignments. And you're playing 13 sophomores at Midland High, 8 start. They are improving, but you're talking about a senior-laden Tascosa team. And we went in thinking, what is this offense going to do? But the defense was what shocked me.
Yeah, to hold out Midland High to 6 points, and they didn't even get those until late in the game, which with the second team defensive line in is what it looked like to us at that point. Yeah, and really, I don't know if that was that much Tascosa's defense. Midland High's offense didn't seem to click, didn't seem to get on track at all. So a combination of both of those things, I don't know if we really got to see how well Tascosa's defense plays.
Yeah, I would agree with that. We're having a little trouble establishing a run game, and quite honestly, the passing game's just not quite where it should be. You got a sophomore quarterback; he's never seen things move this quickly or have to think this much. So, and you can tell that difference. Your veteran quarterback, as soon as he makes the first down, boom, he's thinking, get everybody downfield and let's snap the ball again. Where if you haven't done that very much, you're thinking, okay, did we make a first? I've got to look over here and get the play. I don't want to trip walking up to the huddle, things like that. So it's a growing year. And what else do you want to add to that?
Yeah, it's a growing year. The sophomore quarterback, when he's in there, he's never looked comfortable in the pocket. He's fidgety, never settles in. You can tell he's not really checking off his routes and going through his sequences at all, his progressions.
Yeah.
So he's got a lot to learn. He's been sacked a couple of times and pretty hard, especially at Harlingen.
Oh, yeah.
Man, the blind side got him. And you can tell now he is just not comfortable in his skin there yet.
So experience is going to help that. He's got a great arm, a cannon.
Yeah.
Really?
Landry Walls does. And so he's actually won the starting job now. No more rotating. He played the entire game up in Tascosa, and we expect him to start. As we go and follow the Bulldogs to Friendship, so we go follow them up and broadcast this game in which it's run, and now it's going to be pass. So
yeah,
it is like night and day. Not just the temperature, but now the scheme on the offense.
Yeah, Friendship threw for almost 400 yards. Yeah. Not only do they have that great D1 quarterback, Kirby Holcutt's son is a stud receiver. They've got about 3 receivers who can really play.
And a stud quarterback, tech commit as well.
Yeah.
So
you got to watch out for him. He's the real deal. Wait till you see him. He looks the part. I mean, he just looks like a D1 college quarterback. You're like, wow, this guy.
Transferred in from a program.
Bishop Gorman.
Yeah, historical.
Where he wasn't even the starter.
He wasn't?
He was the starting receiver. He wasn't the starting quarterback.
Oh, I did hear that.
Their starting quarterback was a guy who's committed to Penn State.
Okay. Yeah, Bishop Gorman.
How does
they put out
Bishop Gorman have all these?
Well, it's a private
Las Vegas.
school, and it's you can recruit.
So where Snoop Dogg's kid's going to go? His kid plays football in Vegas.
Really?
Maybe
Snoop.
so.
No, this is
Snoop Jr.?
This is like a curve I threw you guys. Yeah, but Snoop helps
I was
coach or is involved in his kids' I think it's like GMFL league at this age, but he's going to be coming up through the ranks there.
Snoop is?
Well, his kid, and Snoop is going to be right beside him.
Oh, my. Wow.
Sorry for that, folks.
Squirrel.
Talk to us about the what may actually be the best team in the Permian Basin in the Greenwood Rangers.
Yeah, let's talk about that really quick.
That's insane. They're ranked 4th in the state currently, right, Gary?
They did not move up.
Neither did Lee. Lee's still 19.
Yeah, so let me start with Midland Christian first. Midland Christian, 56, Addison Trinity Christian Academy, 7. That was last week. Cage Gilbreth led the Midland Christian Mustangs, scoring 3 touchdown receptions. They are now 3-3. They're 1-0 in district, and they play at Argyle Liberty Christian, who typically is a really good team, but I don't think they're playing very well this year. So we'll see what pans out there. In that game, River Rodriguez 5 for 6, pretty efficient night on your 6 passes for 88 yards. Greenwood, number 4, 58, Pecos 6. Trey Cross rushes for 249 and 3 touchdowns. They jumped out to a 23-0 lead in the first quarter, 30-6 lead at the half. Weston Wilbur continues to have very efficient games, 197 yards with 4 touchdowns. They host Snyder, Greenwood does, the Rangers. They're in Greenwood, 7:30 tomorrow. And then on the 6-man front, Trinity is number 3, but they're in the independent 6-man league.
Right.
Different than UIL. So they traveled down to play number 1 UIL to show you sort of the disparity there. And that's Balmorhea, the Bears, who have been in made some successful playoff runs as of late. And Trinity takes it on the chin 46-0 down there. So it just shows you the difference between, in some cases, UIL and then these other leagues. They host the Lubbock Titans tomorrow night. So lots of stuff going on tomorrow around the area in football.
That's right. Well, let's move over to talk college football here for just a moment locally, and David will give us our Heisman update later. But UTPB falling again, but I'll tell you what, close game against West Texas A&M, who's a power. Always has been a power. They were in my TV days in Abilene in the Lone Star Conference. They lose 14-10 against the West Texas A&M team that honestly I believe is 5-1. UTPB 2-4 now, 0-4 in conference. But if you think about this game, if you really look at the stats, you kind of study it a little bit, you see that UTPB's defense has really stepped up. Chris Hode, game high 14 tackles. He's that linebacker who has the nation lead in tackles for a career out of any division. Right here in UTPB, he continues to put forth 14, 15 tackle games. UTPB, 350 yards of total offense against West Texas A&M. So that's a big victory. Again, I think we're just seeing the makings of a young team slowly putting it together, building recruiting classes, getting nice facilities in place. They are taking on Chadron State. This is going to be a non-conference game. That game up there in northwest Nebraska. That's where they're at, Chadron, Nebraska. It's a noon contest. They're out of the Rocky Mountain Athletic Conference is where Chadron State is.
You knew all that, right?
Yeah. How'd you know? That being said, UTPB would love to snag them their 3rd win of the season in a non-conference game, because then after that they're going to come back and get right back into conference competition against Angelo State and San Angelo. Then they have Eastern New Mexico, A&M Commerce, and then A&M Kingsville.
What's the Chadron mascot?
Are you about to make a joke of this?
No, the wheels are turning, but I can't
Eagles.
come up with it. You're seriously?
Yeah.
In Nebraska.
That was quick, Dustin.
Yeah.
The Chadron Eagles. Okay.
There it is.
Let's
all right.
move on. 3 and out. You're going to go first?
Yeah, let me talk 3 and out. So this is an ode to rebels of the past. In my time, whether it be in TV, radio, got to develop a really, really good relationship with Coach James Morton and just loved him over there. Mm-hmm. And what's so crazy is, his son Barron Morton is now a junior at Eastland High School, where Coach Morton won a state championship back in '82, the year I was born.
Dang.
Just throwing that out there.
Yeah,
Waiting on you guys to be like, I was.
Yeah.
How old were you guys in '82? You wanna mention?
I was 19.
20.
Okay, there you go. Well, I was a baby. Coach Morton was winning state titles. But right now, Coach Morton's son, Baron Morton, who has got a crazy buzz. He's a 4-star recruit. He's made his commitment to Texas Tech. He, according to some of Gary's research, the number 7 pro-style quarterback, dual threat quarterback, thank you, in the nation. And here's what I love about Baron. He's going back home, essentially. You know, his dad, he grew up with his dad coaching Lubbock Monterey. So he's going back to what is home to him. I mean, and here's what's crazy if you think about it. Think about this, Lee fans. At one time, when they were in the 7th and 8th grade, Lee had Mikey Serrano and Baron Morton. Like, are you kidding me? At one point, they had both of those guys playing quarterback for him. So Baron has committed to Tech, and he's had offers from literally all over the country. So I think that's great. I love when local talent stays local, a kid comes back home. And honestly, I think Tech will get really excited about him because he's a coach's kid. He's a good kid. Got a body that he's tall and lanky. You could put a lot of meat on him, and the kid's got an arm. So it'll be interesting to see. But my 3 and outs, just a shout out to Baron Morton. Job well done. Kudos.
I'm also going to talk about former coach, players, son-father relationship, except we're going to talk about Texas Tech. As you mentioned, their leading wide receiver is the son of the athletic director at Texas Tech.
Yes.
Kirby Holcutt. So I don't know if you were watching this debacle in the Baylor-Texas Tech game over the weekend. It's at Baylor, crowded. They both hate each other. Well, they have no respect for each other, I should say. Anyway, the center does sort of the rear end snap.
Yes.
And this is in overtime, okay? Yeah. First overtime, snaps it, pops himself in the butt, fumbles, Tech recovers. Well, the officials blow the whistle, and they said it was an illegal snap, which you rarely see called. That's sort of something when the center just sort of fakes snap or picks it up and puts it down. Well, that is when that happens, you can't review it because it's a dead ball judgment-related call. So Baylor gets the ball back, scores, and then
game over.
The game's done. Well, it actually went 2 overtimes.
It did. But
extremely costly.
But that was game over in the sense of,
Tech scores, it's over.
Right.
So Holcutt, the AD, comes out and just says, hey, the Big 12 acknowledged that there was an officiating error on an illegal snap ruling during the first overtime period, blah, blah, blah. It basically restates what the Big 12's media package puts out. Well, yesterday, he gets popped with a $25,000 fine, right? And all he did was, it was no disparaging remark. It was, I'm repeating what the league said. And so one of my buddies, Steve Plemons, went to the Red Raider luncheon today. Apparently the coaches say that there's already $100,000 raised to pay the fine in the Kirby Fund. They're going to use it for a scholarship in the AD's name.
Or for future fines.
Yeah. Is that not?
Well, I was about to say, I'm not so sure that's not like a much deeper reflection of our culture right now. Like we're going to jump on somebody for saying something and find them in ways that just I just think about the volatile culture we have. I think about Twitter culture is what I call it.
Well, and you're right. And then the opposite, the response is not the response that the Big 12 would have accepted. It's it's like the Trump effect. Sort of.
Right, exactly.
Hey, we're going to bombard him with money and say, no, you're not supposed to do this.
Right.
So interestingly, though, there were some other comments. They said that, and that we may have to have that as a topic of discussion, not to badger the referees. I mean, they're doing the best job they can. But this year, pro and college and high school has been lacking. But they said that before the half, they called a penalty on Tech's number 76, which would have given, had the penalty not been called, Tech would have had the ball at the Baylor 20 instead of starting their last drive at their own 45. Well, guess what? Tech doesn't have a number 76, and in film, it was clearly on somebody, a 76 wearing a green jersey. So, anyway, enough of that. But my point was, Very interesting. You're fined $25,000 for doing something that doesn't seem very wrong, but your fans come to rally around you and support you, and now you have a scholarship named
It's
after
an
you.
interesting time to be alive, isn't it?
It is.
David, tell us about the Heisman update.
Hey, we finally have some excitement in the Heisman update.
Really?
Yeah, you're not going to like it, but it's really good. Joe Burrow has rocketed to number one.
I would
Are you serious?
I would not argue with that.
After that Florida game, he's up to number one. Ironically, his stats aren't better than Tua's.
Tua's number 2. How did Hurts fall to 3?
Well, he beat Florida. He beat Texas. Alabama.
Fair.
Joe Burrow, yeah. So he went 21 for 24, 300 yards, 3 touchdowns. He had a great game. And Tua had 4 touchdowns.
But who'd they
Wow.
They beat A&M.
Oh,
This was
sorry.
the Alabama
Come on, your
game.
money goes
I
there.
didn't mean
or
it.
it went there.
Yeah, thanks. That's a turning the knife.
Yeah, I didn't mean
Yeah,
that.
thanks.
I forgot.
So Jalen Hurts drops to 3rd. Jonathan Taylor, I think the interesting thing is appearing at number 6, meaning your quarterback at Texas is not on the top 6 any longer. CeeDee Lamb.
He's incredible.
He
Will be a number 1 draft pick.
Yeah.
And
He lit it
Texas,
up.
he should give Texas some credit because they can't tackle.
Yeah, he lit it up last week.
All right, there you have it. More to come next week. Thanks for joining us. Remember, you can follow the Lee Rebels as they host Odessa High. You can do that on AM 550. Follow the Midland High Bulldogs as David and I travel up to Friendship. That's tomorrow night, 102.1 FM. Download the Midland ISD app. For Dustin Pierce, David McReynolds, I'm Gary Gray. This is 3 and Out, and we are out.